I had a bad feeling about my daughter and son-in-law, so I pretended to check into a hospital for routine tests. Before leaving, I hid a small recording device in my study. While I sat in the hospital cafeteria waiting, my housekeeper called me. She grabbed the phone tight and whispered, "Mr. Harold, come back tonight at Chin. That is when you will understand everything." When Chin o'clock came, I stood outside my own window and watched. What I saw made my knees buckle. 71 years old and running a construction empire teaches you to read people. And that Tuesday morning when I walked into my study at my Houston estate, something felt wrong. The door was unlocked. I always lock it. Always. For 38 years, that room has been my sanctuary. My blueprints, my contracts, my legacy, all stored in those oak filing cabinets my father built with his own hands. I stepped inside slowly. The morning light came through the plantation shutters, casting long shadows across the Persian rug. Everything looked normal at first glance. The mahogany desk I bought when Mitchell Construction landed its first $1 million contract. The framed photo of my late wife, Eleanor, standing in front of our first completed building in Mutngin Chincham Tamwibay. The leather armchair where I still sit every evening with a glass of bourbon. But something was off. The stack of contracts I always keep on the left side of my desk was now on the right. The fountain pen my father gave me, the one I never let anyone touch, was lying at a different angle. And the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet, the one where I keep all the property deeds, was not fully closed. I walked over and opened it. The deeds for the commercial properties in downtown Houston had been moved. The documents for the apartment complexes in Dallas were out of their protective sleeves. Someone had gone through everything, reviewed it all, and put it back carelessly. One of the deeds had a coffee ring stain on the corner. I never bring coffee into this room. I sat down in my chair and stared at the ceiling. Who? Only 4 people had keys to this study. Me, Rosa, my housekeeper of 25 years, my accountant, Mr. Patterson, a man who has handled my finances since the Reagan administration, and my daughter, Catherine, 42 years old, MBA from Rice University, married to Derek, a 45-year-old real estate developer who always wore suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I did not want to think about her, but the evidence was pointing in one direction. Last Sunday, at our weekly family dinner, Catherine had asked strange questions. "Dad, have you thought about what happens to the company when you are gone?" She said it while cutting her roast beef, casual, like she was asking about the weather. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Well, you are 71. You should have a succession plan. Someone to take over. Someone who understands the business." Derek nodded beside her, that thin smile of his spreading across his face. "Someone like who?" I asked. "Well, Derek has experience in real estate development. He could help manage the transition." Derek, the man who had filed for bankruptcy twice before marrying my daughter. The man whose own father had cut him out of the family business, for reasons I never fully understood. That Derek was going to help manage my transition. "I appreciate the concern," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But I am not going anywhere yet." Catherine's smile flickered, just for a second, but I saw it. "Of course not, Dad. I just want to make sure everything is in order, for everyone's peace of mind." For everyone's peace of mind. What an elegant way of saying, "We are waiting for you to die." Now, sitting in my study with the disturbed documents in front of me, the pieces started connecting. Someone had been in here. Someone had reviewed my assets. Someone was planning something. I got up and walked to the window. From this room, I could see the circular driveway, the fountain Eleanor had designed, the rose garden she had planted the year before the cancer took her. 10 years she has been gone. 10 years of me, pouring everything into this company, into this family, trying to fill the void she left. And now someone wanted to take it all. I picked up my phone and called Rosa. "Mr. Harold, good morning." "Rosa, I need to ask you something. Has anyone been in my study while I was at the office yesterday?" There was a pause, a long one. "Rosa?" "Mr. Harold, maybe we should talk in person." My stomach dropped. I am coming down now. I found Rosa in the kitchen, wiping down the counters. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. She had been with our family since Catherine was in high school. She knew everything that happened in this house. "Tell me," She put down the cloth and looked at me with tired eyes. Miss Catherine and Mr. Derek, they came yesterday afternoon. They said they needed to get some old photos from your study for a surprise anniversary party for you. I am not married anymore, Rosa. There is no anniversary. I know, Mr. Harold. I thought it was strange, too. But Miss Catherine insisted. She said it was for a video tribute, about your life, about Mrs. Eleanor. I did not want to say no to your daughter. How long were they in there? About 2 hours. 2 hours. To get photos for a video tribute. Did anyone else come with them? Rosa shifted uncomfortably. A man in a gray suit. He carried a leather briefcase. He looked like a lawyer. My blood ran cold. Did you hear anything they said? Only a little. When I brought them coffee, I heard Mr. Derek say something about before he gets suspicious. And Miss Catherine said, we need to move faster, before I get suspicious. Thank you, Rosa. Please do not mention this conversation to anyone. Of course, Mr. Harold. But please, be careful. Something is not right with those two. I spent the rest of the day in my office at Mitchell Construction headquarters, but I could not focus on work. Every email, every phone call, every meeting felt distant, like I was watching my life through a foggy window. I needed to know what they were planning. I needed proof. After work, I drove to an electronics store on Westheimer Road. I bought a small camera, the size of a thumb drive, with motion activation and live streaming to a phone app. The salesman showed me how to set it up. It was simple enough that even an old man like me could figure it out. When I got home, I waited until Rosa had gone to bed. Then I went into my study and placed the camera behind a row of law books on the shelf facing my desk. The angle was perfect. I could see the entire room, the desk, the filing cabinets, the door. I connected it to my phone and tested the feed. Crystal clear. Now I needed to give them an opportunity. The next morning, I called Catherine. Hi, Dad. Everything okay? Actually, sweetheart, I am going to the hospital for a few days. Just routine tests. My doctor wants to monitor my heart. Oh my God. Is it serious? Her voice sounded concerned. But was it real concern? Or was it the concern of someone calculating an inheritance? No, just precautionary. At my age, they like to check everything. I will be at Methodist Hospital, probably there until Friday. Do you want me to come visit? No need, just rest and monitoring. But I wanted you to know in case you needed to reach me. There was a pause. I could almost hear her thinking. Okay, Dad, take care of yourself. Let us know if you need anything. I will. Love you, sweetheart. Love you too, Dad. I hung up and packed a small bag. But I was not going to the hospital. I was going to the Marriott downtown, 15 minutes from my house. Close enough to watch, far enough to stay hidden. I checked in under a false name. Paid cash. The girl at the front desk did not ask questions. I spent the first day in my room, watching the camera feed on my phone. Nothing happened. The house was quiet. Rosa came and went. Cleaning rooms, watering plants. The second day was the same. But on the third evening, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I opened the app. The door to my study swung open. Catherine walked in first, then Derek, and behind them, a man I did not recognize. Gray suit, leather briefcase, the lawyer Rosa had described. They gathered around my desk. Derek opened the drawer where I keep the property deeds. He pulled them out and spread them on the table. The lawyer opened his briefcase and took out a stack of documents. He laid them next to the deeds. Catherine spoke. I could not hear through the camera, but I could read her lips well enough. Sign here and here. Derek picked up a pen. But he did not sign his own name. He signed mine. Harold Mitchell, in my handwriting, forged. The lawyer notarized the document. He stamped it with an official seal. Catherine smiled. She actually smiled. My daughter. My only child. The baby I held in my arms the day she was born. The girl I taught to ride a bike. The teenager I consoled when her mother died. That woman was now standing in my study, watching her husband forge my signature on documents that would steal everything I had built. I felt my heart physically ache. Not a heart attack, something worse. The feeling of being betrayed by your own blood. I watched as they signed more documents. Transfer of ownership, power of attorney, medical directives. They were preparing for everything. To take my company, to control my assets. And based on the medical directive, probably to have me declared mentally incompetent if I tried to fight back. Derek said something that made them all laugh. I could not read his lips, but I saw his expression. Smug. Victorious. Like a vulture who had finally spotted a dying animal. They left the study after an hour, taking some of the documents with them, but leaving others behind, hidden in the drawer where they thought I would never look. I sat in my hotel room for a long time, staring at the wall. My daughter? My own daughter. How did we get here? The next morning, I called my lawyer, not the corporate attorney for Mitchell Construction, my personal lawyer, Arthur Chen, a man I had known for 30 years, a man whose integrity I trusted completely. Arthur, I need to see you. Today. It is urgent. Harold, what is wrong? I cannot explain on the phone. Can you meet me at the Marriott downtown? Room Bonchamuihai. I will be there in an hour. Arthur arrived at exactly the time he promised. He was a slim man in his 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He sat down in the armchair by the window and listened without interrupting as I told him everything. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled slowly. This is serious, Harold. What they are doing is criminal. Forgery, fraud, elder financial abuse. If we can prove it, they are looking at significant prison time. I have video. Show me. I played the recording on my phone. Arthur watched with an expression that grew grimmer by the second. This is good evidence, he said when it ended. But it might not be enough on its own. A defense attorney could argue the video is not clear, that you cannot prove what was signed, that the notary could be legitimate. So what do? We let them continue. We let them think their plan is working. And we build an airtight case. How? First, we secure your assets. Tomorrow morning, we go to a notary I trust completely. We authenticate your signature. We put on record that any document signed after today without your verified physical presence is fraudulent. Then what? Then we transfer your company and major assets into a trust where you are the sole beneficiary. Even if they present forged documents, those documents will be worthless because the assets will no longer be in your name. How long does that take? 1 week, if we expedite it. They are moving fast, Arthur. I heard them say they need to move faster. Then we move faster still. We spent the next 5 days in a whirlwind of legal procedures. I signed document after document, real documents, legitimate ones. I authenticated my signature at 3 different notary offices. I transferred Mitchell Construction into a trust. I updated my will, explicitly stating that Catherine and Derek would receive nothing if they attempted to contest it. Arthur was meticulous. Every document was witnessed. Every signature was photographed. Every step was recorded. By the end of the week, my assets were legally protected. But I was not done. I needed them to make their final move. I needed to catch them in the act, with irrefutable proof, in front of witnesses who could testify in court. I waited. 3 days later, I got a call from Catherine. Dad, you are out of the hospital? How are you feeling? Better. The doctor said everything looks fine. That is wonderful. Listen, Derek and I want to take you to dinner, to celebrate your good health. Friday night at Brennan's, one of the nicest restaurants in Houston. The kind of place where people deliver bad news with expensive wine. That sounds lovely, sweetheart. I will see you there. Friday arrived. I dressed in my best navy suit. I put on the gold cufflinks Eleanor had given me for our 30th anniversary. I looked at myself in the mirror. 71 years old. Gray hair. Lines on my face that told the story of a life well lived. I had built an empire from nothing. I had loved a woman with all my heart and buried her with dignity. I had raised a daughter who now wanted to bury me. I arrived at Brennan's at 7 o'clock sharp. Catherine and Derek were already there, seated at a corner table. They stood when they saw me. Dad, you look great. Catherine kissed my cheek. Mr. Mitchell, good to see you. Derek shook my hand with that practiced smile of his. We sat. We ordered drinks. We made small talk about the weather, about business, about the new development going up on Main Street. And then, over dessert, Derek cleared his throat. Harold, There is something we want to discuss with you." Here it came. "I am listening. You know, we have always admired what you built with Mitchell Construction. It is a remarkable legacy. Thank you. But the industry is changing. Digital technology, new regulations, sustainability requirements. It is a different world than when you started. I am aware. We think it might be time to consider some changes, structural changes, to protect the company for the future." "What kind of changes?" Derek glanced at Catherine. She nodded slightly. "We have been approached by a company that wants to acquire Mitchell Construction. They are offering $40 million. $40 million. My company was worth at least $120 million, maybe more. Who is making this offer?" "Sterling Development Group. They're very reputable. They have a proven track record." I knew Sterling Development. I knew their CEO, Marcus Webb, a man who had tried to buy out two of my competitors and gutted them both, firing half the employees and selling the assets piece by piece. "And what would my role be after this acquisition?" Derek smiled. That smile. "Retirement, Harold. You have earned it. A comfortable life. No more stress. No more 18-hour days." "And who would manage the transition?" "I would. I have experience in real estate development. I know the industry." Of course he did. "And you have already begun the paperwork for this?" Derek's smile faltered slightly. "We have had preliminary discussions. Nothing is finalized. But we wanted to talk to you first, of course." "Of course." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. "Before we continue, I want to show you something." I placed the phone on the table and pressed play on the video. Derek's face appeared on the screen. Catherine's face. The lawyer's face. The forged signatures. The notarized documents. Everything. The color drained from Derek's face. Catherine's hand flew to her mouth. "Dad, I can explain." "Can you? Can you explain why you forged my signature on transfer documents? Can you explain why you hired a crooked notary to legitimize fraud? Can you explain why you were planning to have me declared mentally incompetent?" "It is not what it looks like." "It is exactly what it looks like." I stood up. "I have already transferred all my assets into a protected trust. Every document you forged is worthless. And tomorrow morning, I am filing a criminal complaint with the Harris County District Attorney's Office." Derek stood up, his face contorting with rage. "You cannot do this. We are your family." "No, you are not. Family does not steal from each other. Family does not forge signatures. Family does not plot to have you locked away in a nursing home so they can take your money." "Dad, please." Catherine was crying now. Real tears or fake ones, I could not tell anymore. "You made your choice, Catherine. You chose him over me. You chose money over loyalty. Now you live with the consequences." I turned and walked out of the restaurant. Behind me I heard Derek shouting something. I heard Catherine sobbing. I did not look back. The next morning, Arthur and I went to the district attorney's office. We presented all the evidence, the videos, the documents, the testimony from Rosa, the records of the crooked notary, who turned out to have a history of fraudulent certifications. The DA listened carefully. "Mr. Mitchell, this is a strong case. Very strong. I am going to issue arrest warrants for all three of them. Your daughter, your son-in-law, and the notary." "What about Sterling Development?" "Their CEO had to know these documents were fraudulent. We will investigate that angle as well. If Marcus Webb was a knowing participant, he will face charges too." I nodded. I felt numb, relieved, but also empty. "Mr. Mitchell, are you sure you want to proceed? This is your daughter." I looked the DA in the eyes. "I am sure." They arrested Catherine and Derek 2 days later at their home in River Oaks. The notary was arrested at his office. Marcus Webb was brought in for questioning but claimed he had no knowledge of the fraud. His lawyers got him released, but the investigation continued. The trial took 8 months. 8 months of testimony. 8 months of evidence presentation. 8 months of looking at my daughter across a courtroom, seeing a stranger where my child used to be. Derek was sentenced to 12 years for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The notary got 6 years. Catherine's lawyers argued that she was manipulated by her husband, that she was a victim too. The jury did not entirely buy it, but they showed some leniency. She got 4 years. When the judge read the verdict, Catherine looked at me from the defendant's table. Her eyes were red from crying. Her face was thin. The expensive jewelry was gone. "Dad," she mouthed, "I am sorry." I did not respond. I just watched as they led her away. After the trial, I went back to running Mitchell Construction. I hired a new CEO, a woman named Patricia Torres, who had worked her way up from project manager over 15 years. Someone who earned her position through skill and dedication, not through marriage or manipulation. The company is doing well, better than well. We just landed the largest contract in our history, a mixed-use development in the Galleria area worth $200 million. Rosa still works at the house. She is getting older, and I have told her she can retire whenever she wants, but she insists on staying. "This house needs someone to take care of it," she says. And someone needs to take care of you. I still sit in my study every evening with a glass of bourbon. I still look at Eleanor's photo and wish she were here. She would have known what to do with Catherine. She always understood people better than I did. Maybe if she had lived, none of this would have happened. Maybe Catherine would have turned out differently. Or maybe not. Maybe some people are just born with something broken inside them. Something that no amount of love can fix. 6 months after the trial, I received a letter from the prison, from Catherine. I kept it on my desk for 3 weeks before I opened it. "Dad, I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not deserve forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable, and I know that now. Derek convinced me that we were entitled to the money, that you owed it to us, that you were being selfish by not sharing your wealth while you were still alive. He said we were just taking what was already ours. I know now that he was wrong, and I was wrong for believing him. You built everything you have with your own hands. You worked for it. You earned it. Nobody was entitled to take it from you, least of all your own daughter. I think about Mom a lot in here. I think about how disappointed she would be in me. She always said that character is what you do when no one is watching. Well, you were watching, Dad, and you saw exactly who I had become. I am not writing to ask for anything. I am just writing to say that I understand now. I understand why you did what you did. And if I were in your position, I hope I would have had the same courage. I love you, Dad. I know I have no right to say that anymore, but it is still true. Catherine, I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it and put it in my desk drawer. I did not write back. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I will drive up to that prison and sit across from my daughter and try to find the child I once knew inside the woman she became. But not today. Today, I am 72 years old. I am healthy. My company is thriving, and I have learned something that I wish I had known years ago. Family is not defined by blood. It is defined by loyalty, by trust, by the choices people make when they think no one is watching. Catherine made her choice. Derek made his. And I made mine. I chose to protect what I built. I chose to defend my dignity. I chose justice over sentimentality. Some people say I was too harsh, that I should have given my daughter another chance, that blood is thicker than water. But here is what I have learned. Water is essential for life. Blood, when it is contaminated, can kill you. If you are listening to this and you are going through something similar, I want you to know something. It is okay to protect yourself. It is okay to set boundaries, even with your own family, especially with your own family, because in the end, the only thing you truly own is your integrity, and that is something no one can take from you, unless you let them. I did not let them, and you should not either. Thank you for listening to my story. If it made you think, leave me a comment. I would like to know what you would have done in my place. And if you know someone who is going through something similar, share this story. Sometimes knowing you are not alone is the first step toward finding your strength. Take care of yourselves, and take care of what is yours.